Previously, Goku's light auto combo only had one behavior. On block, you push the opponent quite far away and were -4. On hit, the opponent would wall bounce anywhere on screen, but they would also recover rather quickly off of this unusual hit. You can now change the behavior of Goku's light auto combo by holding forward during the input, and if you've seen my Blue Vegeta video, you'll note that there's some similarities happening here. You can now delay the startup of the attack to make it +2 on block. In addition, if this somehow hits the opponent, since it doesn't normally combo into it, the hit stun is now greatly extended. It can be a little tricky for Goku to get a pickup here thanks to his stubby normals. But you certainly got some options to play with here. Next, Bandai has buffed the delay on crouching medium kick. Previously, it took about 36 frames for the move to complete. This meant that on block, it was -11, a very unsafe normal for Goku to stagger off of, although he had other great stagger options. 5L was -4, 2L was +0 on block, 5M was safe, 2M was hilariously unsafe, 5H was also unsafe, but you had Ki Blast to go into. Now let's take a look at crouching medium attack with its new reduced delay. It's now 30 frames to fully complete the animation and for Goku to recover, so it's 6 frames faster. If you apply that to the block stun, it's now safe on block at -5. This, ironically enough, means that Goku and Super Saiyan Goku have safe on block 2Ms, a property that used to be shared with Super Saiyan Goku and Goku Blue, but now Goku Blue is the only one of these Gokus that has an unsafe on block 2M now. I just think it's kind of funny how this has been shifting around between these versions of the characters. So this definitely means that Goku's pressure no longer has like a guaranteed safe weak point. You could simply just stop at any one of your normals pretty much. I won't show 5H just yet because we have to talk about that move next. There's also a couple of buffs to standing heavy attack, namely to its startup and to its recovery. So let's take a look at the old version. It was 14 frames startup and it was -8 on block. In total, it took 37 frames to complete. Let's take a look at 5 Heavy's new properties now. It's 2 frames faster with 12 frames startup, and with the reduced delay, it's now also safe on block, meaning that every single one of Goku's normals outside of 2H are safe on block options for a stagger pressure, which is monumentally strong for a grappler. In addition to that, instead of taking 34 frames to recover in neutral, it's now 32 frames. There's 2 changes going on to Goku's crouching unique attack series, 1, 2, and 3S. So let's go ahead and take a look at the old properties. The Ki Blast startup used to be 17 frames for all versions of the move. With the second Ki Blast happening at about frame 36, so a little bit slower. Additionally, you might have been able to notice that the Ki Blast didn't exactly track to the opponent's position. Rather, they came out of fixed spaces on the screen. So 3S would not be quite a full screen option for Goku. 2S, the first attack would whiff at some ranges, but generally speaking, there would be some instances where the opponent would fall out of these Ki Blasts. However, a lot of Goku's combo routes were designed around this previous spacing and appearance of the crouching unique attack. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the new version. Next up, let's get into the changes to crouching unique attack. It's 2 frames faster. So now the first attack comes out of frame 15, and the second attack can hit around frame 34. In addition to that, there's now a new tracking feature to the blast. Previously, these moves would always have a fixed placement no matter where Goku was on the screen. But now, if the enemy is within a certain proximity, the Ki Blast will now track to their position. As you can tell with 3S, it now becomes a full screen Ki Blast option for Goku. In addition to that, it's possible to get one of your Ki Blasts to lock onto the opponent and the other to whiff. Or they're both connect. The range does seem pretty generous. However, as you can tell in some situations like this, it causes some very weird interactions. Since, the first Ki Blast here is pushing GT Goku out of range, and then instead of the second Ki Blast going behind him to actually connect with him, it now just completely whiffs, which can definitely have some impact on Goku's combo routes, depending on the spacing. I know that some base Goku players have complained about this change, and I honestly wouldn't mind if it was revamped in some way in the next patch. I can see the idea behind it, where you're trying to get rid of some of just I don't know, some weird nuances here, but you've introduced some more frustrating nuances because of this change. Ultimately, we'll have to see how this one plays out and what base Goku players are able to make of it. I do think that for neutral, having a full screen under the ground Ki Blast option that's 15 frame startup seems inherently strong to me anyway. Let's move on to Goku's special moves, starting with Heavy Elbow. The medium and heavy version have the same buffs, so we'll explore them together just for brevity's sake. Previously, these were frame 4 reversal options that were -5 on block, so they were safe. This meant that you could use this to challenge the opponent's pressure at times. They are particularly effective in mid-screen against vanish pressure, for example. That is, if you executed it correctly. Now, if we take the same situation and put my Goku into the corner, you'll find that both versions actually struggle to find success here. The EX version would be able to work against some of this pressure because of its faster startup than the medium version, but the iframes wear off around the time that Goku is done retreating and he's about to advance forward. As you can see here, the iframes have worn off for Goku. Now, there was also other utility that Heavy Elbow had in Goku's kit, and that was going to be using it as a fake cross-up tool. He was able to cross up the opponent with JM, but you could fake a cross-up by going into EX shoulder, particularly use this version for the faster version. The downside of doing this, of course, is that, well, if the opponent blocks this, you just gave up your turn going for the mix-up, and that never really felt too good. So how do they buff the medium and heavy version of Heavy Elbow? Well, they've basically done a small rework for these moves in terms of their behavior on block by increasing the block stun and shortening the knockback. So there's now a little bit of a screen shake. Goku is right next to the opponent, and he's +2 off of both elbows. These are now become pressure reset tools for base Goku. So at any given moment in a block string, you could sprinkle these in and just start your turn all over again with a plus on block frame advantage, which I think is very strong. It also means that in situations where you go for the fake cross-up, Goku is now actually plus, and depending on the height in which you perform the move, this advantage can vary. I've been able to get it as high as +7, and this is because Goku's canceling his recovery by landing on the ground while the opponent is still locked underneath the new extended block stun. So you have a lot of opportunities to force your offense here again, and this feels nice because now, instead of Goku gambling on going for a true cross-up where he's able to keep his turn and a fake cross-up where he gives up his turn, now he keeps his turn going both directions. This kind of reminds me of the change that Vegeta received in the previous patch a year ago, where he's able to cancel his JS into jump heavy, meaning that no matter which side he chooses in his left-right mix-up, it's still his turn. Now base Goku has that same privilege. Granted, he has to spend half a bar in order to go for his ideal fake cross-up. Now, we also have to talk about the lengthened invincibility. By this point, the invincibility had already worn off for Goku. It still doesn't really happen until Goku starts to lunge forward. But these couple of extra iframes could mean the difference between Goku being able to attack with a higher priority move than the opponent in some situations. Let's go ahead and replay that Vanish situation again. As we know, mid-screen this will work just fine. In the corner, there still seems to be some sus efforts with the medium version. And the EX version, if I can execute it, works just like the same as the previous patch. However, it's also curious to note how it behaves in something akin to a mid-screen callout. I can tell you that in the previous patch under this test, that attack from GT Goku actually hit my Goku in this iteration, but now Goku's able to dodge it. So this is pretty nice just to give it some better mid-screen utility, and there might be some situations where previously Goku would have been hit, whereas now he doesn't actually get hit out of this. Next up is Kamehameha. The patch notes weird this a little bit unusually, but what it now says is, can now perform a super dash if the sideways version hits. So we actually have to take a look at how Goku's super dash cancel from Kamehameha used to work in the previous patch. Kamehameha is a single hit beam. And it has a very weird behavior here where you can't actually instantly cancel into Super Dash. The blast has to complete for Goku to actually do this. Now, in the corner, this actually works out very well because this pretty much gives you some auto-timed extensions where Goku would be able to go into its optimal corner routing because of this change. But, as you've seen in mid-screen, if you just hit this raw, well, then you're kind of out of luck here and you'd have to resort to a vanish to confirm. But if you do get a hit off of a normal, like 5 heavy or his full light auto combo, then you would be able to get a Kamehameha Super Dash to connect. So it wasn't all that bad, but, suffice it to say, this was fairly limited. And again, if you're trying to get confirms off a neutral, it would work just fine. But if you just initiated your pressure with a Kamehameha, it would work at about full screen. But if you were doing a block string and the opponent got caught by it, well then, tough luck. Unlike the rest of the cast who could Super Dash and pick up a free combo here, base Goku would have to spend a Vanish. And just to give a quick demonstration as to what kind of combos I was referring to in the corner, you could get some grounded loops. Outside of a few delays on the normal attacks themselves after the Super Dash, the Kamehameha Super Dash was auto-timed. Now let's look at the new timings in which you can Super Dash out of a Kamehameha. Only on the sideways version, though. You can now pretty much Super Dash immediately, meaning that if you get these close range hits with Kamehameha, you can pick up combos with them. However, as a result of this change, there's a couple of things going on. First, let's talk about Goku's combo game. Previously, these loops were kind of easily and auto-timed because, you had to delay the Super Dash because it wouldn't come out earlier. But now that you have this new faster timing, if you immediately Super Dash, as you can tell, the dummy is way too high for me to do loops. So now, all of a sudden, you actually have to manually delay the Super Dash in order to get the old loops I was demonstrating to work. And it's a pretty significant delay, too. But with practice, it is possible. However, this also is going to affect other combo routes of base Goku that utilize his old Kamehameha Super Dash routes. So you're going to have to mess around and relearn all of those routes, which I think can be a source of frustration for some base Goku players. I do think that overall, in the grand scheme of things, this is going to be a positive change for base Goku because he has more options now. All of his old stuff, while trickier to execute, is still capable of being used. You simply have to learn some new timings and some other opportunities open up for you. In addition to that, it's also kind of funny to observe another change with this, which has to do with the fact that since you could cancel this into Super Dash so much earlier, at point blank range, Kamehameha into Super Dash is a true block string. The opponent can't reflect this, they can't 2H this. You could just, end your block string like this and create some annoying situations. Since base Goku doesn't have a fast 2L low, it's not like he can all of a sudden, go for true Super Dash high-low 50-50s. You could use it to, see if you catch the opponent sleeping on their fuzzy guard, I suppose. But it's also worth noting that this doesn't really change the situation from a neutral call. The opponent is still going to be able to H you, but at some closer ranges, and by that I mean very close. So close it's point blank. You got a true string Kamehameha here. So there is at least that going for him. You have to know that this only applies to the horizontal version of the beam. The upwards version like this doesn't quite have enough block center for that to apply. And if you use the airborne version, while those styles definitely let you cancel faster, if you go with this one, you still have that delayed Super Dash timing. So it's not like we're Super Saiyan Goku and we're going to be able to do a fake cross-up Kamehameha into a true block string Super Dash. With that big delay right there, the opponent is going to be able to 2H you. So stick with same siding them with your EX heavy elbow. Now let's look at ×3 Kaioken Kamehameha, one of Goku's level 1 supers. Previously, you could only perform this with one ally KO'd. If If you had 2 allies KO'd, then this super was replaced with his times 20 Kaioken Kamehameha. Now, obviously, the times 20 Kaioken Kamehameha is generally preferred since it does more damage and gives Goku a hard knockdown. Granted, it's a full-screen hard knockdown, so the Okizeme isn't exactly that great. Additionally, if you use times 3 Kaioken Kamehameha, you were not able to perform a super dash before. That was the earliest possible timing, and that's just Goku recovering from the times 3 Kaioken and then going to super dash. Now let's get into times 3 Kaioken Kamehameha's changes. You can now perform this in Limit Break when Goku is the last character on your team by holding down when you press the heavy and unique button. And because you're in Limit Break, you can also now cancel this into both his times 20 Kaioken Kamehameha and into a Spirit Bomb. Now, let's actually talk about the implication of these changes and the fact that I'm kind of sitting here asking, like, why, though? Because it's not like Goku really needed an extra super in these situations. I mean, most of the time when you're doing combos, a full optimized Kaioken combo route into times 20 into Spirit Bomb would be enough to kill the cast, especially with the damage buff to Limit Break. I mean, for goodness' sake, if you just punish someone going for a special move with raw times 20 Kaioken Kamehameha and you had enough meter in the tank for a Spirit Bomb, you just TOD'd them. Like, they die. Like, it's not like the times 3 Kaioken Kamehameha suddenly, like, allows you to do this. Like, you already had something like this in the game. And granted, with Kaioken Kamehameha's particular angle, it's not like it's going to really catch a whole lot of people in some situations. Although, if we actually take a look at the times 3 Kaioken Kamehameha in this instance, can it actually TOD immediately into Spirit Bomb? The answer is not quite, but I guess if the opponent is up at like the perfect upwards angle for you, and you want to snipe them out from the air, you could just do 9,000 damage to them as a neutral punish. But keep in mind, it's not like Goku warps to correct the position. You have to manually aim this option. So, okay, I guess. Like, the cancel into Spirit Bomb, I don't think has, like, quite the same utility as the cancel into times 20 Kaioken does. And the reason I would say that is, if you're in a situation where you somehow end a combo in Limit Break and you don't have enough meter to go into Spirit Bomb after your supers, you can add on a little bit of extra damage, I guess, in this one circumstance. So, like, I guess that's something for you, but I kind of almost find it hard to even imagine a situation where that's going to come up now. I mean, when you're in Limit Break like this, you're building meter for free just by existing. So you're getting like an extra half a bar to a full bar of meter in all of your combos because of the Limit Break passive meter gain. So, like, and with the fact that, you know, if you come in with Limit Break, you get that extra bar, it's like, when are you ever going to be this low on meter as an anchor? I mean, I guess if you're going crazy with some EX moves, which would make sense for Goku. Heavy Elbow is a really good EX move for him to use, as well as his EX throw. Like, I guess there's going to be just some situations where that if you're very low on your meter economy, you can still fit in some extra damage, which could be the difference between a kill and a not. But outside of that, like, there really isn't too much applications, I think, for this new change to Kaioken Kamehameha. And as if that wasn't enough, there's also the other change where I mentioned that previously you couldn't perform a super dash after it hit. Ooh, okay, I have to be a little different with this timing. Let it finish. Oh, geez Louise. Okay, so if I'm in limit break and I can cancel, I don't know how possible that is. Let's bring back Vegeta. Hey, best buddy. You can now cancel it from Super Dash. However, it seems like if you have a bar of meter and you're in limit break and therefore you can cancel into the times 20 Kaioken Kamehameha, then you can't really perform this Super Dash, at least from my very bit of brief testing right here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bandai made like some way where it's like, oh, hey, just hold forward when you press like your Super Dash macro and then you'll just get Super Dash. You won't get the follow-up. That would be like a nice quality of life change, I guess, but it's like, when are you ever going to really be using this? You know, it's like if you're using this at the end of your combos, the hit stun scaling is way too high for you to actually get any follow-ups off of this. And I don't really see you sniping people in neutral with this tool to get these kinds of pickups. I mean, even something, you know, as basic as like, you know, you hit them with Kaioken. Provided, you know, I can remember my combos from it. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm just going to do this. I mean, I guess you could tag on a little bit more damage in that one instance, but I wouldn't exactly consider that as optimal base Goku play. But I guess if you're playing with him at a casual level and you just want to use Kaioken in neutral, you can get some additional follow-ups potentially with this change, at the cost of, I believe, scaling your combos with double super scaling. So there is that for you, and that's everything to say about ×3 Kaioken Kamehameha. Rather anticlimactically, the last change to talk about with Goku is to his C assist. This was the previous hit stop on guard against the opponent. It was pretty short, giving us about 32 frames of block stun. You generally didn't see base Goku players use his C assist. While it is a beam assist, it is on a C assist cooldown, so that already didn't really make it too attractive. Additionally, it's only a single hit beam assist, which is generally worse than the multi-hitting beam assist, because if you trade with another projectile or overpower it, that trade would consume the hitbox on the beam projectile itself, and so you wouldn't actually be able to catch your opponent like you could with, say, Super Saiyan Goku's beam assist. So generally speaking, I've only seen base Goku players either rock the A assist for its great lockdown and great neutral usage, or his B assist if they just wanted to meme around with extra meter build or didn't really want to route charging Spirit Bombs into base Goku's combos. Generally speaking, most base Goku players stuck with his A assist. Now let's take a look at the increased hit stop when the opponent blocks the attack. It also results in there being more frame advantage for you. So, and 42 frames is pretty decent, making this actually a fairly attractive option within your kit. I would still probably argue that your A assist with base Goku is going to be the best assist. You know, 5 less block stun frames in return for a short range, high hitting, you know, double-sided neutral tool that has faster startup. Like, that kind of just still seems fairly attractive to me. But if you're looking for a beam assist on your team and base Goku is the only one who can provide it for you, I mean, I guess it's pretty nice. You know, you pretty much get guaranteed Super Dash high-low 50-50s every time you summon it. In addition to that, again, it might open up some better mix-ups for you as well. But the issues that I mentioned before with its neutral and trading with other projectiles and beams still stand, unfortunately. I can recall being quite critical of base Goku in my review of him in last year's balance patch, and I have a much more favorable opinion of him with this set of changes. While there are a couple of like just odd changes that kind of cause some harm as opposed to just outright being good changes, like the Kamehameha change, as well as the change to crouching unique attack, everything else here is pretty much just stand up better for Goku. So, like, the fact that all of his normals outside of 2H, are safe on block when he's the grappler character is really good. Like, he can just safely stagger off of anything. He's a endless pressure machine that now also has plus on block options to reset his pressure with and to, set you up for when does the throw come, making his mental stack even better. That's a really good change. And the fact that, again, he can go for his cross-up mix-up and go for same side and be plus in both situations is also a huge boon for the character, allowing him just to maintain offense and be much stickier. He didn't get like the esports normal treatment. All of his normals are still fairly stubby, especially compared to like his Super Saiyan version. But I like the direction that they went. Instead of just saying, okay, here you go, your normals now go a quarter of the screen or half a screen, so you're reflect proof. They've instead just giving him new ways of being a pressure machine when he does get up close. And I do like that identity for the character. And one of the reasons they were able to justify giving these buffs to Heavy Elbow is the fact that perfect reflect exists and the opponent is able to perfectly reflect those moves. Well, then you're probably eating a punish, so there better be a reward if you can make the opponent block these moves right now. Again, it's a change that I really do like. Most of the combos I've seen coming out with him aren't too different. There are, again, a lot of people saying, like, man, this is even trickier than it was before. And I don't really see too much utility from the ×3 Kaioken Kamehameha outside of that one instance where, again, you're very low on meter. You can't do Kaiokens into Spirit Bomb. So if you want to add a little bit more damage, you now have the option for that additional meter dump, which could come up once in a blue moon. But overall, like, I do think that base Goku kind of has like his own cool, unique identity where he's the grappler that can always make himself plus on block. And he's got 3 ways of doing it between his charge auto combo and the medium and heavy versions of his heavy elbow. And I think that's pretty cool. So I think that this is probably a really cool time to try out base Goku. I think he gives a lot of team utility. I think he's got strong pressure, which is great for a grappler to have because he already has great mix-up with strike throw. And, I mean, he just does a lot of damage, but you're going to have to sign up for some trickier combos. So, if Goku's the character you want, go ahead and play him. I'm tempted to picking him back up myself.